everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is just gonna be really casual. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really exhausted today, so I hope it's okay if I just kind of sit here in this comfy chair and chat with you. Today's video is going to be really big, probably really long, so I bet I'm going to have split this in two. We'll see. But today we're talking about trail towns and resupply options in those towns and accommodation options. I'm just gonna basically go over every single trail town that I stopped on or stopped in on my PCT thru hike of 2018. So if you have a PCT thru hike coming up soon or a section hike, you might want to take notes. It's up to you. It's gonna be a lot of information. I hope it is helpful to you. I'll let you know what I did and possibly what I would have done differently had I known things like I know now. First up, on either day one or day two, depending on how fast you go on the first day, you're gonna hit Lake Morena. So basically you just go straight through Lake Morena on the trail. You can fill up water. When I got there, there was an E. coli outbreak, so you couldn't actually use the spigots to get water, but there was a really nice trail angel that was letting hikers fill up at their RV. So we did that, obviously. There is a little general store that's pretty expensive, but it also has a little restaurant, and I don't know why. This was literally day two, but we felt like we deserved hot food, so we got breakfast there and we didn't even finish it because hiker hunger is not a thing on day two, y'all. So that was completely unnecessary, but it was whatever, kind of a little reward. So Lake Morena, whatever. The next town you're going to hit is Mount Laguna. Now we did camp there overnight. They have showers and I think laundry. They have a little general store that was pretty expensive, but we got a couple little snacky stuff, and they have a few restaurants. It was really cold the night that we camped there, and apparently a few nights later it actually snowed. So if you're there really early on, it might be really cold. So do be aware of that. The next town is Julian. Now Julian is the first town that you're going to have to actually hitchhike into. And pretty much everybody goes to Julian. So there are a lot of trail angels that'll pick you up. We got picked up by Ghost, who is a very well-known trail angel in that area. We stayed at Carmen's, which Carmen's is no longer open. I think Carmen's closed like a week and a half after I left, but that was an amazing place to stay. But if you can't stay there, there are a number of hotels that you can stay at. There is a grocery store. Make sure that you go to Mom's, because you get free pie and ice cream and a drink. Mom's was quite possibly my favorite like trail business. They were so hiker friendly and just so genuinely wonderful in there. Just make sure that you bring your permit in order to get your free pie, but go to Mom's, faux show. Next up is Warner Springs. Now you have to send a box to Warner Springs. You have to. They do have really big, there's a huge hiker box. So when I say you have to, I know that there were a couple of people that I think resupplied solely off of the hiker box, but that scares me to like think about relying solely on that, because what if there isn't anything? But they do have really good hiker boxes there. Warner Springs also has bucket showers and bucket laundry, a place to camp. They're super hiker friendly in there, and they'll drive you to the post office to pick up your box, but pretty much everyone sends a box there, and it is pretty essential to send one there. My hiker hunger absolutely had not kicked in yet, so I would say maybe you don't have to send a whole bunch of food to Warner Springs, and then you could supplement it with the hiker box. Next up, this is not really a town, it's just a stop, but it's the Paradise Valley Cafe. They have arguably the best burger on trail. A lot of people would argue that, and it was very good. So you can go there for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And so I definitely do recommend that's a nice little treat yourself, but don't do what I did. I ate a huge meal there and then got right back out on trail, and we walked for about 15 minutes, and then we were like, and we had to sit there for like an hour and a half or something to let our food digest. So eat and chill out and then get back on trail. This is also a location that if you're injured or you for some reason need to get off trail, you can hitchhike to Idyllwild. Let me just, something that was really, really annoying, and I should not be annoyed at this, but I am. I would guess maybe 85% of the people that were hiking around us just hitchhiked to Idyllwild from there for no apparent reason. Like, not because they were sick, not because they were injured, just because they were like sick of the trail already. I'm not even kidding. When we got back out on trail, there were so few people still out there. And I mean, you were skipping like 30 miles of the trail, probably. But it was a huge amount of people that were just hitching to Idyllwild. I don't understand that. Do you realize what you're getting yourself into? Like, if you're genuinely injured, okay, I understand it. But like, people were literally just hitching to Idyllwild because they were already like sick and tired of hiking. What? Why are you here? Please don't do that if you want to consider yourself a thru hiker. Sorry, soapbox. Next up is Idyllwild. Idyllwild is such an amazing town. It's so cute. It was one of my favorite towns of all. We did take our very first zero in Idyllwild, and I think that's a great town to do it in. There's grocery stores, there's hotels, there is a really nice camping ground. We did stay in a hotel because we were just treating ourselves. I will say that the hotels, it's a very touristy little town, so the hotels do book up. So if you are able to book a hotel before you get there, I would maybe suggest that. We did end up getting a hotel, but it was like not very great. Whereas there are some really cute hotels in town that would have been really nice to stay in. But yeah, Idyllwild is someplace that I would like to just go back to because I liked it so much. There's so many like little restaurants and little shops. You can kill a lot of time. There's a really nice hardware store. There's a cinema. Just, it's a really great little place. Next up is Big Bear. Big Bear is also a really nice town, and we actually zeroed there as well. The reason we did was because we had a really kind of traumatic time between Idyllwild and Big Bear. We got caught in a major blizzard. We woke up, we found this little cabin, and by cabin I mean it was completely open to the elements, but it did have walls, and we slept in the cabin, and we woke up to like 5 inches of snow. It was, and then we had to like, couldn't find the trail, and we had to hike through a blizzard for 19 miles. Like, it was just, it was a lot. So when we got to Big Bear, we were like, I feel dead. So we did stay in a hotel there. But Big Bear is such a nice place. I really, really liked that town. They have maybe the best Indian food that I've ever eaten at this restaurant called Himalaya. So I definitely recommend that. They have really nice Dollar Tree and grocery store. It's also a very hiker-friendly town. So Big Bear, one of my favorites. Next is Cajon Pass. Now, Cajon Pass is not exactly a town, it's a junction at the highway. So they have one Best Western that you can stay at, and then they have the infamous McDonald's that everybody goes to, and then they have a couple of gas stations. So resupplying is not really great there. So I would recommend just pass through Cajon Pass if possible. We actually ended up not doing that. It was kind of a listen to your body moment for us. We were both having severe pain and lots of blisters on our feet. And so when you get to Cajon Pass, the next section is like a 27-mile dry stretch, and it's a really challenging section. So you kind of have to be like revved up to do that. And when we got to Cajon Pass, we were just, our feet were in so much pain. So we actually ended up staying at the Best Western, which was not our plan. But the Best Western is super nice. They are super hiker friendly. They have really good hiker boxes there. So if you have to stay there, it's a really great option. And obviously go to the McDonald's. And then the hike out of Cajon Pass, a lot of people night hike it, including us. So we actually left Cajon Pass around 4 p.m. and night hiked most of it. Next up is Wrightwood. So a lot of people rave about Wrightwood and just, it was one of their favorite places. I think I had a bad experience in Wrightwood purely because of that 27-mile dry stretch that I was just talking about. I was just so exhausted. We cowboy camped the night that we did that and got like 3 hours of sleep. I was just so exhausted, and I was also feeling extremely antisocial, and there were so many hikers in Wrightwood, which is great, but I was just not feeling it, to be honest. So it's a really, really hiker friendly town, and if you go to the hardware store, they have like a list of trail angels in town that are willing to host hikers, and you can just give them a call. So we ended up finding the most wonderful couple. I'm so grateful to them that we got to stay with them. They had cats and they put us up in a room. It was so wonderful. But just Wrightwood in general, I think I was just so kind of cranky at that point that I kind of have not so great feeling or vibe from the town. Also, if I were to do it over, I would send a box to Wrightwood because their grocery store was so incredibly expensive. It was probably my most expensive resupply of the entire trail per day. I only needed like 3.5 or 4 days of food, and it was like $85. It was crazy. So if I were to do it over, I would mail a box and then get a few supplementary things at their grocery store, but I was just shell-shocked at how expensive it was. Next up is the Acton KOA. We did not stay there. A lot of people do though. It's just a little bit off trail, so you can go there and you can camp, and they have a pool and they have showers and laundry and things like that. I think we went in and got like breakfast burritos or something and maybe a couple little snacky things, and then went right back out. But that was a popular spot for a lot of people. We just chose not to stay there. Next is Hiker Heaven. Hiker Heaven is extremely popular with the hikers. I loved Hiker Heaven. There were so many animals. They had horses and dogs and cats. It's such a well-run machine. They have an outdoor shower. They will do your laundry. Like, you don't do your own laundry. You put it in a basket and get a little number, and they do your laundry. It's amazing. And then of course you can camp there. We got an Uber to the REI in LA. We were able to resupply near the REI, so it was a little bit cheaper. The actual grocery store in Agua Dulce by Hiker Heaven is on the expensive side, but they have shuttles that run you back and forth. They also have a pizza place and a Mexican place and an all-American restaurant. It's really cool. We did not zero there, we just spent the night, but I definitely could have zeroed there. I liked it a lot. Next up is Casa de Luna. Casa de Luna is very similar to Hiker Heaven. It is a trail angel who opens their home to hikers. We stayed there one night. That's where you can do your little dance and get your bandana. I also recommend going to Heart and Soul. I will go out on a limb. I think most people would agree with me. Heart and Soul has the best milkshake on the entire trail. So definitely stop there. Casa de Luna wasn't necessarily my kind of place, but I definitely am very grateful to the trail angel who lets us stay at her house. But I met a lot of hikers that were like, you know, oh my gosh, I got caught in the void or the vortex and I stayed at Casa de Luna for like 4 days. Like, I don't understand that. I would not do that at all. I was definitely ready to get back out on trail after one night. And if I were to do it again, I would maybe have skipped it. I felt like I kind of had to do it because it's one of the PCT experiences, and that milkshake was so good, but it wasn't really worth it to me, to be honest. Next up is Hiker Town. We did not stay at Hiker Town, nor would I ever stay at Hiker Town. I cannot recommend it to anyone. It gave me the heebie-jeebies and it looked dirty and gross, and there's this weird feud between Hiker Town and this other place. They like hate each other and they try and steal hikers from it. It's just really weird. We did spend a couple hours there because we wanted to do the LA Aqueduct at night, so we got there in like mid-morning and then we left in the early evening. So we just hung out, and like I took a nap on this like porch swing, and I probably could have gotten lice from it. Like it was just a creepy, gross place. So not really a fan of Hiker Town, but it is an option if that's your thing. There's a restaurant that does shuttles from Hiker Town. So we went to this restaurant. It was quite expensive, and there's a little general store attached that was also really expensive. But if you need a couple of supplies, you can get things there. And the restaurant was, like, the food was good. It was just on the expensive side. But yeah, the other little tidbit, tiny tip is we did the aqueduct at night because that's what everyone said to do. I don't really think that would have been necessary. I mean, 2018 was not a super hot year, so like if you're getting there in mid-May, yeah, maybe don't. But I don't know, I don't think we really needed to. We left about 6 p.m. and we hiked until about midnight, and then we went to sleep. We did get lost at one point, and there was this weird like RV park, and they were setting off fireworks, and this car drove by and asked us questions, and there was a weird ghostly playground. It was weird. And then once we laid down to go to sleep, there were like kangaroo mice everywhere. So I don't know, I think we probably could have left around like 3 p.m. and been fine. And another little thing is then we met up with another hiker a few days later, and around that area she had seen a mountain lion with her cubs, so I would be aware of that. Obviously that was in 2018, but just something to keep in the back of your brain that there might be mountain lions in that area. The next town was Tehachapi. Now Tehachapi, we did take a zero there. Tehachapi, if I were to do it over, I would maybe not zero there, just because there were some cuter towns later on in the trail that I kind of wish we could have zeroed, but because we took too many zeros early on, we weren't able to do that. So Tehachapi is super hiker friendly. Like we would be walking to the grocery store or walking to a restaurant, and cars would literally pull over and ask to give us a ride without us trying to get a ride for anything. There was even a lady who like was driving in the opposite direction, and she U-turned to come and ask us if we needed a ride, and she gave us a ride like 60 feet down the road. So they're very hiker friendly there. There are a couple of grocery stores, lots of places to eat. There's a bakery that a lot of people like lost their minds over. I thought it was just fine, whatever. But yeah, Tehachapi was just it was a fine town, but nothing super special. Next is Lake Isabella. Now, we did not plan to go into Lake Isabella at all, but there was kind of a late in the season freak snowstorm in the Sierras this year. So everyone was having to slow down. A lot of people were having to stop at Kennedy Meadows, and the people that had already gone into the Sierra were having to bail out of the Sierras. So we decided to slow down. So we got to the place where you hitch into Lake Isabella, and we just decided to go kill a day or so in Lake Isabella. So we ended up zeroing in Lake Isabella. The hitch into Lake Isabella was super difficult. However, I think there is a bus, but we got there, I think it was on Memorial Day, so the bus was not running, and everyone was like leaving Lake Isabella to go into LA for the holiday. So it was really hard to get a ride, but we finally did by this really nice park ranger. Lake Isabella doesn't have a whole lot. There is a really nice RV park that I totally recommend you stay at. The lady who runs it was awesome. And they have really quite strict hours for people to shut up at night, which I really appreciate. There's a really nice Taco Bell, and there's a grocery store too. And yeah, it's so warm in Lake Isabella. Those are 2 nights in Lake Isabella were by far our warmest nights on the entire trail. So I loved that. And yeah, a lot of people complained about Lake Isabella for some reason, and I don't really know why. I liked it just fine. Next up is Kennedy Meadows South. Everyone's gonna stop there. Pretty much everyone mails a box there. It's pretty much required. There's nowhere to really resupply. Yogi's store is in Kennedy Meadows, so you can get a couple of things there, supplementary things, but it's pretty expensive. Grumpy Bear, I think that's what it's called, is the restaurant. And then there's obviously the general store, has some things, but they're on the expensive side. You can camp there. We spent 1 night there. It's fine. It marks the end of the desert, which is pretty exciting. But otherwise, there's not much there. I wouldn't really recommend trying to spend a whole lot of time there because there's not much to do and it's pretty expensive. So, but it's a big moment. And hopefully people will clap for you when you get to the general store. Nobody clapped for us. I don't think anybody saw us walk up, so it was very depressing.